So,
we'll test this out. Over there. Just see if you can hear yourself asking a question. Test. This is a test. Test this out. See if you can hear yourself asking a question. Test. This is a test. Like a little one.
like 3.
Like 15. Not bad. All right, cool. Well, thank you for all your help.
Okay.
As we're talking during the live feed. It's okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. message watching. Mostly for Toronto. Going to national parties. I'll be off on Friday. Yeah, great. So, okay, so then I'll pick it up. Okay. Yes, I have the camera facing just the screen. Okay, so you're not in it now. It's all on the screen part of it.
Are you going to end the lecture months still?
Yeah,
Okay, with 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Were you gonna do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yesterday, we had so that's just for the session to assess where they're at. But the notes, we went over it. So do a brief presentation. Briefly over each of the careers on the pathways and going to assess them. So we work with a great presentation. Yeah, that's just the basic one. Ours are like it's just I think like we're just gonna get started in another few more minutes. Get started.
And it's the same thing, it's not very responding to this. So,
That's the tedious part. Get back to those.
I'd say 2 weeks in advance.
I can tell you, but it's less than that. It'll be a, I think I'll get back.
Yeah, there you go. I was about to keep on that over there.
Because I did actually send her an email once and she responded. All right. Good morning. How are you three doing today?
Good.
Good, good. All right. Should I say for the camera, how are all 50 of you doing today? Yeah. So we have this presentation going on. You're not on the camera. It's just this part, and I probably won't hear your voice. But thank you for coming today. This is the Preparing for the Application Year workshop. So it's for students who are planning to apply next summer. So this is a good time to see what you could still be doing while you're preparing for that application. So next summer, as in summer 2018. My name's Iannelli. I'm a health professions advisor. And then Renea Forde will be speaking with you fairly shortly into this presentation. So thank you for coming today. So what we're going to discuss today is best time to apply, what makes your application competitive. We're going to give you some recommendations for the year leading up to your application, and we're going to review some resources here through our office and at USF that will help you with preparing your application. So just out of curiosity, if you can for me, just a quick introduction, just your name, major, and health professional interest. We'll start here.
My name is Renea. I'm a major.
Okay, so looking at medical, thank you. And,
My name is Teresa. I am a biology major and looking at physician assistants.
okay, PA.
I'm Victoria. I'm a biology major and I'm looking to med school.
Medical, okay, nice. So yeah, we're gonna go over this today. So the main question is, when is it best to apply? A lot of times students will think that, okay, I've done my 3 years, I have 1 year left, that's the time to apply. That might be the case for some students, but it's very important to know that the best time to apply is really when your application is the strongest. And we're gonna go over the different factors that are looked upon by health professional schools to really help you answer that question. So no gaps in credentials, demonstrate awareness of becoming a physician, physician assistant, pharmacist, and so on. And you can prove to them that you can do it and that you should do it. So
We're going to go over ways where you can show them that in the application. So courses, grades, and activities achieved after applying are not considered. So what that means is if all of you are applying summer of 2018, that's great. You're going to have everything ready to go in your application. But after you submit that application, anything that you do after or that you want to include on the application, you cannot add to the application because it would be too late. It's already out there to the schools. So it's very important for you to already have that planned in advance. If there's something more that you want to do for your own benefit, but also for your application, you just want to make sure that you have that ready to go. All right, importance of the application. Application is how they'll address why should they interview you. Nowadays with health professional programs, they're more so looking not at the applicants that are great, because when it comes down to it, these schools, unfortunately, and sad to say, they don't need applicants. And what I mean by that is there's so many people applying to these programs that they're almost looking at it the other way. They're in what's called rejection mode. Like, how can we reject applicants because we're getting so many? Because a lot of students applying are going to have good credentials. They'll have the good GPA, the test scores, the patient care hours, all of that, but they only have a limited amount of seats for the programs. So it's very important to really make your application unique. Help yourself stand out. Don't just check the boxes. We're going to go over some things today that will help you, but what makes you unique, what more can you bring to that application is really how you want to view this process, because there's going to be a lot of people applying for these similar programs in medicine and PA. So what makes you unique? How competitive is your academic profile? So that does start with your GPA. The health profession schools look at your overall GPA and they look at your science GPA. Do all of you know what the science GPA consists of? What kind of courses? Yep, so your chemistry, biology, physics, and math are all included in your science GPA. They also look at the rigor of course load. So that's your pre-health semesters. Do you have enough semesters of a pre-health semester to show them that you can handle the course load that you're about to face in medical or PA school? That's something that they want to see. A pre-health semester is 8 to 11 credits of science and a 14 to 16 credit hour overall semester. So that's how they can determine, can this student handle what they're about to face, where it could be anywhere from 18 to 25 credits of just sciences when you get to medical, PA, or any other health professional school. Trends in grades, exam scores, those are just parts of the academic profile that they'll look at. Who are you beyond the GPA and test score? So yes, they look at the GPA and test score, but they want to know more about you. What are some ways where they can learn more about you beyond your GPA and test score? Yeah, personal statement for sure. Yes. Think of other things that you're doing right now that maybe you're currently doing or that you know that you have to do to really have a competitive. I'm sorry? Volunteer experiences, yeah.
Clubs and stuff and other activities.
Yep, clubs, organization, other ways to show that you're a leader. And those are all good things that help you show that you have the skills and characteristics that these programs will want to see. So, be your own advocate. They can't read your mind, know what you think. Don't be a great applicant who has a poor application. That's something that we do see a lot as well. You might have the academic credentials, but you're not maybe showing it on the application. So we're going to go over some ways to do that. So competitiveness, very important. How can you become competitive? Can you do it? Does your GPA indicate that you can pass your courses in their program? So in a few slides, we're going to show you the most up-to-date averages of overall and science GPA. Does the rigor of your semesters indicate that you can take all of those sciences at one time? So that's where it's important. Maybe if your GPA is good right now, but you haven't taken a semester where you're taking at least half sciences, then that's not going to show them that you can handle the rigor of what you're about to face. Does your entrance exam score indicate that you are a strong test taker and will pass your future board exams? So the one way that schools can compare applicants is by the test scores. So the MCAT, that's something everyone's taken. So that's how they can see how you compare nationally to the others that are applying for medical school, and then for the GRE with PA school and so on. And then, does your healthcare experience indicate that you have an understanding of the physical, mental, emotional requirements? If you're applying, schools, except for PA school, you're required to have patient care hours. But for other programs, if you want to go into that, a lot of the schools will say it's not required, it's strongly recommended, which means it's required, because how else will they see that you understand the profession without having any shadowing or clinical volunteering or anything like that? So it's very important to consider, should you do it. So what we mean by that is there anything else that you could be doing to help improve your application? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Can you articulate why? So that's very important when it comes to the health professions. Can you explain why you're doing this? Can they see why you're doing this when they're looking at the application? So there always has to be a why. What about you indicates that you'll be a good healthcare provider? What is something in your application that can indicate that you would be a good healthcare provider? Like, what's something that they can see within the application that would show that?
Like if you volunteered at a place that is like having to do with patient care.
Yep. By your experiences. A couple more. What's a couple of other ways they can see that you would be a good healthcare provider? Not just from your experiences, but something else that's in your application. Something that if you haven't thought about now, you'll want to think about, because this is a very important part of your application. Yes, back there. Yeah.
Shadowing.
Yes. Shadowing is one way, for sure. The volunteering, the shadowing, personal statement, and I'm looking for one more thing that's included in your application where it's maybe someone else talking. Yes. Recommendations. Yes. So all of those different ways are really ways you could show that in your application to see if you would be a good healthcare provider. But yes, all of those are needed. All of the answers from the 50 of you in here that you all came together and decided on. So competencies. So how to show the competencies is very important in your application as well, and all of those ways show that. Because if you have someone writing you a good letter of recommendation, then they can really help show you that. So now I'm going to pass it over to Renee Forde, and she will go over the next parts of the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to have a few recommendations for you to make sure that your application is where it needs to be by the time you're ready to apply. So in thinking about the upcoming year, it does take a full year to prep your application. Well, in actuality, it takes 2 to 3 years to build your portfolio, but it takes about 6 months to a year to accurately develop the type of application that you want, to make sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. So first on the list is to ensure that you, the time that you're planning to apply is the best possible time for you. That you've planned out your 3rd academic year, that you're going to be taking all of your prerequisites and completing them by the time you apply, that you have a competitive resume, that you have a good plan for the MCAT. You normally take the MCAT right before you apply. So you need to make sure that if you are applying in summer 18, it's an actual achievable goal and that you've thought about it in detail. You want to make sure you're rounding out your healthcare experience. So this is rounding out, this isn't beginning. So if you are just starting your healthcare experience, then you may want to consider how much you need to do within 1 year in order to get all of those experiences done. Schools want to see that you have a long-term commitment to healthcare. They don't want to see that you've scrunched a lot of information into 1 semester or 1 summer, because that doesn't show them that you've had a long-term commitment to the field when you're about to enter a 2 to 4 year program. You'll want to be preparing for the entrance examination. The MCAT normally takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to study for and prepare for, because it's not a memorization test, it's an aptitude test. You are applying the skills that you've learned in a variety of different classes to the material on the test. So it's not just a regurgitation of information. That's why you really have to understand the subjects. You have to be able to apply critical thinking skills to, do formulas in a very short span of time. The test itself is 7 hours, but you're still expected to answer a large amount of questions. For the GRE, the test is normally 3 to 4 hours, but the same rules apply. You do have to adequately prepare for the exam. Know the length of time, know the type of information that's going to be on it, practice the test a few times before taking it officially. Because every time you take an entrance exam and you submit your application to a school, the school will receive all of your test exams. So you want to make sure that when you take it the first time, you're prepared to get the best grade possible. Writing your personal statement is also very important. It's not something that can be done quickly because it's a reflection of you. It's meant to include everything that's not already on your application. So you're not really supposed to stress your academics, your test scores, your knowledge base, because your grades should show that. It's meant to be you on a sheet of paper. So why are you the best candidate for their program? Why are you committed to this field? What type of characteristics do you have that will make you an expert clinician? Also, you want to make sure that you're asking for letters of recommendation. This is going to be really important because your letters of recommendation are a cosign that you are in a position to be ready to take on the field of study that you're interested in. This is someone else saying that if I had a doctor, if I had a dentist, if I had a pharmacist, I would want this person to be it. So you really want to make sure that you're building relationships to get the best forms of letters of recommendation. You don't want to ask a teacher that you've never spoken to, that you don't have a personal connection with, because you don't know what they'll be including in that letter, or you don't know whether they'll be able to really show how strong of a candidate you are. They might just know you as another student in their class. So make sure you're building those relationships. Do research on your intended profession to make sure that you're hitting all of the prerequisites. Make sure that you're deciding which schools to apply to and why. This is something that we'd like you to do much farther along than your third year, just because here's where you're going to be making sure that every school you apply to, you've hit all of the prerequisites. 1 year is a pretty short time to kind of make sure that you've taken all of the classes that they've wanted, that you've done all of the prerequisite experiences that they've wanted. But if you haven't gotten to that point yet, you want to make sure that every school you apply to, you have met the requirements, or you will meet the requirements by the time you apply to in summer 18. Make sure that you have a competitive course load. You're still taking 8 to 11 science credits per semester, with 14 to 16 credits overall, and that you are still able to maintain a high enough GPA that's necessary for your health profession. And also make sure that you have adequate icing on the cake. These are all of the bells and whistles that make you stand out as an extraordinary candidate. That's academic research, summer programs, any awards or accolades that you've gotten in your field or in school. If you happen to be the president or co-chair of a student organization, if you've been able to plan an event from start to finish, put on workshops, show different skill sets in your experiences. All of these things are meant to show specific characteristics that will make you stand out in your application. So, I think I went through all of these in my spiel, but we'll still go ahead and make sure that if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and let me know. So is summer 2018 realistic? So for everyone in here, do you feel like summer 18 is going to be a realistic possibility for you? Are there any concerns or things that you feel like you haven't yet thought about or that you need to focus on?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I know like by the time I apply, I'm doing a second minor, and I don't think I'll be done with the second minor.
Okay.
Would that be like I could say I still have a minor, right, in my application?
Well, from the question was, if someone is completing a minor and they won't have the minor done by the application period, is that going to hurt them? So no, it won't. Unless the minor has a specific bearing to your application, it's just another part of completing your academic requirements for graduation. So if you are, what is your minor in?
Obviously, public health.
Okay, so yeah, public health is considered an additional experience. You're taking on this additional minor to show that you have a commitment to community health and education. It's not a prerequisite for any of the programs. So you normally won't have all of your requirements done for neither your bachelor's or sometimes your minors by the time you apply. But that's why you apply a year in advance. So you still have your senior year to focus on completing your bachelor's and your minor. You also still want to make sure that you're taking at least one science class per semester so that if you are selected for an interview, you can talk about skills that you're still learning and ways that you're still developing your portfolio. You still want to make sure that you're keeping up your competitive stature, because realistically, if you do not get into the program of your choice, or you do not get into any of the programs that you apply to, and you decide to apply the following year, so that's summer of 19, even after you graduate, they will still be analyzing that last year that you took. So you still need to make sure you're completing a competitive semester in your senior year, even after you apply, just to make sure that you have a backup plan in case you have to apply again the following year. All right, good questions. So in addition to the experiences that we talked about, the high GPA that's necessary for your program, the high test score, whether it's the MCAT, GRE, PCAT, DAT, OAT, you want to make sure that you are having significant healthcare exposure. We talked about volunteering. This is volunteering in any health setting to make sure that you can articulate what the day-to-day operations in a health setting is. Can you explain what it's like to be in an emergency room, in a doctor's office, in a community health clinic? Can you explain what it's like to deal with anxiety-inducing situations when patients are coming in, when there's, a lot of blood or bodily fluids around? Are you able to handle that type of scene? Is that something that you're comfortable with? These are all ways to show that you are in the right field for you and that you have an understanding of what the day-to-day life is. When you shadow doctors, you're also showing schools that you're interested in that you have an understanding of what a specific doctor or pharmacist or dentist does on a day-to-day basis. Is this a life that you can see for yourself? Is this something that you're comfortable with? Can you explain the differences between a veterinarian that works with domestic animals versus a veterinarian that works with wildlife? They want to know that you have those type of different understandings of your field, and the only really way to do that outside of research is to actually be in the field. So that's why these experiences are so important. Make sure that when you are working in these fields, you're building professional relationships. Normally, you'll need about 5 recommendation letters for your application. It's about 3 from faculty and 2 from the field. So you want to make sure you're building relationships with professionals who can write you these recommendations, who can speak to your characteristics, your skills, your commitment to the field. And also make sure that whatever they're writing, is deeply rooted in your experience, but in your characteristics as well. Not all recommendation letters are required to be given to you. So you do have to have a level of trust in your recommender, because a lot of times they'll submit the letter directly to the application. Any questions so far? All right. Entrance exams. So we have MD, so we have MCAT over here. You know that you were going to be taking for PA, which test? Okay, for you? All right, have you guys started purchasing any materials for the test? Have you taken any practice exams so far?
No, but my advisor did tell me I have to start this summer.
Right. So there's a lot of, okay, you have a question?
Sorry, I had a question here. Any course like the MCAT course, what would be a good time to take that?
So when you say course, do you mean through the university or a private course?
Yeah, like the Kaplan course.
So the Kaplan courses have different time frames. There's shorter Kaplan and Princeton review classes, and then long-term ones. You normally want to take it sometime within the third year. So either your fall semester or your spring semester. Spring semester is ideal because it's expected that you have had biochemistry by that time. Biochemistry tends to be a large portion of the MCAT, so you want to have full understanding of that class before you really start digging into that material. No, it doesn't mean you should wait until you take biochemistry before you start prepping for the MCAT, because you still have all of the other subjects to study for. Your physics, your bio, your chem from general to organics. You want to make sure you're still practicing the exam, that you understand how to answer the question. Test taking strategies become really important during the entrance exams because you'll be answering a large number of questions in a short attention span. So a lot of the Kaplan and Princeton reviews really focus on sharpening your test taking strategies, increasing your reading skills so that you're able to pull out information more quickly from long passages, so that you're giving yourself more time to answer questions. Those are some of the things that they really focus on. So there is benefit there, but at the same time, you could purchase materials and study on your own, because not everyone has the resources to purchase a Kaplan or Princeton review course, which can be pretty expensive.
So there's a chance that I'm going abroad this summer to take a 6-week biochem course. Do you recommend that I try to take because my advisor said I have to take it this summer.
The MCAT?
No, the biochem.
Okay.
But over the summer, it's a longer,
It's a shorter course.
but it's still shorter than an actual semester.
Right.
So do you think that it's a good idea to take it in 6 weeks? Do you think I can get enough information from it for the MCAT?
You're still covering the same amount of information in the accelerated courses, but you're not going to be taking the MCAT right after.
Yeah.
You'd want to make sure that even if you are taking the class, it's going to be in a very accelerated pace, so it's really going to be a matter of regurgitation, studying and regurgitating for exams. So you really won't be getting, as in-depth of an understanding as possible, but you can kind of say that for any class. You still have to review everything that you've done in the past in order to really grasp it, and you have to start applying it in different classes. So taking it in the shorter period, if you feel like you can handle that, is completely fine, especially if it's going to be your only class for the summer, or it's probably going to be paired with maybe a general education class.
If we pair, but it's going to be like a 3-week other class.
Right. Yeah. So you're still only going to be immersed in biochemistry. So if you feel like you can handle it at a shorter pace, you can still take the course and experience the study abroad. Because study abroad is a great experience to have on your resume. But don't feel as though you have to take the exam once you take biochemistry. You're still going to be expected to come back, and while you're taking your other classes, continuously review your biochemistry material and prep for the MCAT. So taking it in a short period isn't really hurting you. It's just making sure that you can actually follow up with it afterwards. So for the entrance exams, each one of the tests that you're taking, whether it's MCAT, PCAT, GRE, the organization's website does have free study material, so that's always a good place to start. They sometimes have practice exams online, and then each test does have published materials that you can buy that are, big textbook size study guides that can kind of walk you through the process. After you've gone through that, if you still need, like you need additional support, you can look into the Kaplan or Princeton review prep courses. There's also a MCAT prep course here at the university. It's called GMS 6000, I believe, and it's offered through the med school, but of course it's only one class with possibly 2 sections, so it's very hard to get into. So if you are interested in taking that class, definitely feel free to take it either in the fall or spring of your 3rd year.
Is there also a class called ECH, like Research Methods and Design?
Research Methods and Design is more so a skill set preparation class for academic research. So it's not necessarily preparing you for the MCAT.
It said that
it does?
Yeah.
Well, what it does is it prepares you for certain aspects of the MCAT, because the MCAT does cover critical thinking and analysis, but it's not necessarily an MCAT prep course. You're not going to be going over every detail of the MCAT, but it does provide you with specific skills that will benefit you on aptitude exams like MCAT. So that's the little class. All right, so for your personal statement, like we mentioned before, this is you on a sheet of paper. So it has to have a really strong opening. You're kind of writing it like a piece of fiction, if you will. Your first line, it has to be really engaging. This is kind of where you're telling your story. So a lot of people talk about their upbringing, if they have specific characteristics that have kind of led them to the person that they are now, whether they've had to overcome personal struggle or tragedies in their life, whether they're immigrants or come from a history of poverty or abuse or anything that really kind of makes you stand out and kind of speaks to your story. You want to make sure that you're engaging the reader, and then you're letting the reader know why you should be accepted into their program. Remember to try to stay away from things that are already mentioned in your application. So if you have received a lot of accolades or awards, if you've been a stellar student and you have a 4.0 GPA, you don't have to mention that in your personal statement because it's already in your application. You want to stress things that are specific to you that can't be seen in your application. So your hardships, your challenges, obstacles you've faced. Transcript fluctuations are really important. If you ever had a setback in your academic career where you had a bad semester or you failed a class, you want to be able to explain what happened. Make sure that you're focusing on the choices that you made or the situations that may have happened in that situation, and then ways that you improved, ways that you came back from that setback. We don't want to see you really listing excuses for